I stood there for 2 hours. Boat after boat pulled in. No Annika. She said she'd be wearing the red sundress I bought her, said she'd wave first. But then I saw her on a boat pulling away, not arriving. With another man, she didn't wave. She never even looked back. The ferry to Bohol was packed that morning, but I barely noticed the other passengers. My hand kept drifting to the small velvet box in my shirt pocket, checking it was still there. I'd practiced the words a dozen times in my hotel room the night before, standing in front of that cracked mirror like some lovesick teenager. Annika, these past 6 months have been the happiest of my life. Too formal. You make me feel alive again. Too desperate. I settled on something simpler. I love you. Will you marry me? Direct. Honest. Like the postal worker I'd been for 34 years before retirement. I'd bought a new shirt for this white linen, like the ones I saw younger guys wearing around the resort areas. It made me look less like a tourist, I thought. Less like what I was, a 62-year-old man from Tucson who'd fallen harder than he had any right to. The ring cost me 3 months of my pension. A modest diamond, nothing flashy but real. She deserved real. After everything she'd given me, everything she'd made me feel again, after Carol walked out 5 years ago, she deserved the world. The boat rocked gently as we approached Tagbilaran port, and my stomach churned. Not from seasickness, from anticipation. We'd planned this weekend for weeks. A cottage right on Panglao Beach, the one she'd shown me pictures of on her phone. It's where couples go to get engaged, she'd laughed, nudging my shoulder. Very romantic, Lels. That nickname, the way she said it made me feel young again, like I wasn't just another retiree looking for purpose in paradise. She'd picked the spot where we'd meet, the same pier where she'd coordinated that snorkeling tour 6 months ago. Full circle, she'd whispered when we made the plan. Where our story started is where our new story begins. I believed her. God help me, I believed every word. The first time I saw her, I was standing exactly where I planned to propose. January 15th, a Tuesday morning that changed everything. I'd signed up for the snorkeling tour on a whim, my last day on what was supposed to be a quick getaway to forget about divorce papers and empty houses. I'd been sitting alone at breakfast for 3 straight days, watching couples hold hands over coffee while I scrolled through emails from lawyers. You must be Leland, she'd said, appearing beside me with a clipboard and the brightest smile I'd seen in years. Welcome to Philippine paradise. She was wearing a yellow tank top and denim shorts, her hair pulled back in a messy bun with strands catching the morning light. 26 years old, though I didn't know it then. Young enough to be my daughter, but something in her eyes seemed older, wiser. That's me, I'd said, standing awkwardly. Though I should warn you, I'm not much of a swimmer. Don't worry, Lels, she'd laughed. I'll take care of you. Lels. No one had given me a nickname since high school. My ex-wife called me Leland when she was happy, Lee when she was tired, and nothing at all toward the end. But Annika made it sound natural, affectionate, like we'd known each other for years. The snorkeling trip should have lasted 3 hours. We were gone for 6. She kept finding reasons to extend it, an extra reef, a hidden lagoon, a lunch spot only locals knew about. You're paying for the full experience, she'd insisted when I tried to tip her extra. Besides, you're my favorite customer today. I should have known better. Should have recognized the practiced charm, the way she tilted her head when she laughed, how she remembered every detail I shared about my life back home. But I was lonely, and she was beautiful. And for the first time in years, someone was paying attention to me like I mattered. Tell me about Arizona, she'd said as we sat on a secluded beach, sharing a beer she'd brought in her cooler. It must be very different from here. Hot, I'd said. Dry, quiet, too quiet sometimes. You live alone? The question came so naturally I didn't hesitate. 5 years now. My wife, ex-wife. She found someone younger. Said I'd gotten boring. Annika had reached over and touched my hand. You don't seem boring to me. That touch. I can still feel it. Warm fingers tracing the back of my weathered hand while waves lapped at our feet. She didn't pull away when I looked at her, didn't seem bothered by the age spots or the wedding ring tan line that still hadn't faded. Maybe she just didn't know how to appreciate what she had, she'd said softly. I extended my stay that night. 3 days became a week. 1 week became 2. I told myself it was just vacation, just enjoying the company of someone who seemed genuinely interested in my stories about mail routes and retirement plans. But when she introduced me to her mother on day 3, something shifted. "Mama, this is Leland," she'd said, guiding me into a small house with concrete walls and a tin roof. The one I told you about. Her mother, a tiny woman with calloused hands and a shy smile, had insisted I stay for dinner. They served me, like I was family, the best cuts of fish, extra rice, mango for dessert. We sat on plastic chairs in their small living room while Annika translated, her mother asking questions about my work, my family, my plans. "She wants to know if you're happy in the Philippines," Annika had translated. "Tell her it's the happiest I've been in years." When her mother smiled and nodded, Anika's eyes had filled with tears. "She says you have a kind face, that I should take care of you. Take care of me." The words stayed with me long after I returned to Tucson. Through the empty evenings and quiet weekends, through the neighbors who'd stopped asking how I was doing and the phone calls from Carol's lawyer about dividing up pension benefits. Annika had texted me every day for 2 months pictures of sunsets, jokes about tourists, little videos of her at work. "Miss you, Lels," she'd written one evening. "When are you coming back to see me?" I booked my return flight that night. The second trip was different, more intimate. She'd taken time off to show me around Bohol properly, the Chocolate Hills, the Tarsier Sanctuary, river cruises through Labac. But it was the quiet moments that convinced me this was real. Grocery shopping together while she picked out ingredients for dinner. Sitting on her front porch in the evenings, her head on my shoulder while her mother watched Filipino soap operas inside. "I never thought I'd meet someone like you," she'd whispered one night as we walked along Alona Beach. "Someone who sees me as more than just, you know." More than what? More than a good time. A tropical fling. She'd stopped walking and turned to face me. "You talk to me like I'm smart, like my opinions matter." Because they do. Most foreign men who come here, they don't want to hear about my dreams. They just want the fantasy. I'd pulled her closer, feeling the weight of her trust. "What are your dreams?" "Finish my degree in tourism management. Maybe open my own dive shop someday. Help my mama fix the roof before rainy season." She'd laughed, but it sounded forced. "Silly dreams for a tour guide. They're not silly. And you're not just a tour guide." That night, lying in my resort bed alone, she'd insisted on going home to her mother. I'd started planning, not just my next visit, but something bigger, something permanent. The third trip sealed it. She'd invited me to her cousin's birthday party, a loud, joyful celebration in a neighbor's backyard with karaoke and grilled fish and children running everywhere. Her relatives treated me like I belonged, pulling me into conversations, teaching me Tagalog phrases, laughing when I butchered the pronunciation. "Tito Leland," the kids had shouted, using the respectful term for uncle. I'd never been anyone's Tito before. Late that night, after the party wound down and we'd helped clean up, Annika had walked me back toward the main road to catch a tricycle to my hotel. "Thank you," she'd said, stopping under a streetlight. "For what?" "For making me feel normal tonight, like I'm not just someone you're visiting, like I'm someone you're building something with." She'd been crying and I'd wiped her tears with my thumb. "Annika, I love you," she'd blurted out. "I know it's crazy. I know we're from different worlds, but I love you." I'd kissed her then, right there under the fluorescent hum of that streetlight, and everything I'd been afraid to admit to myself came rushing out. "I love you too." The next morning, she'd met me for breakfast at my hotel, the first time she'd come to where I was staying instead of me going to her. She seemed nervous, fidgeting with her coffee cup. "I have something to tell you," she'd started. Something I should have said before. My heart had stopped. Another man. A husband I didn't know about. Some terrible secret that would explain why this felt too good to be true. "I've been thinking about what you said. About my dreams. About finishing school." She'd looked up at me with those beautiful dark eyes. "There's a program starting in Manila next month. Tourism and hospitality management. It's exactly what I want to study." "That's wonderful," I'd said, relief flooding through me. "But I can't afford it. The tuition, the living expenses. I'd have to quit working to attend classes." She'd reached across the table and taken my hand. "I wasn't going to tell you because I didn't want you to think I was using you. But then last night, seeing how you are with my family, how you fit, I thought maybe." I'd already pulled out my phone to check my bank balance. "How much do you need?" "Leland, no. I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. I'm offering." The numbers on my screen were smaller than they used to be. But there was enough. There was always enough for someone you loved. What's the amount? She'd cried then, real tears, and told me I was the most generous man she'd ever met. I'll pay you back. Every peso. Once I graduate and get a better job, don't worry about paying me back. Just promise me you'll follow your dreams. I promise. She'd squeezed my hands. And Leland? When I graduate, when I have that degree, maybe we can talk about the future. Our future. Our future. I'd held on to those words through 4 months of international wire transfers and daily messages about her classes. She'd send me pictures of her textbooks, her study groups, the small apartment she'd rented in Manila, my handsome sponsor. She'd call me in her voice messages, making me laugh even when the Tucson heat was unbearable and the loneliness crept back in. But she'd come home for semester break in May, and I'd flown out to meet her. That's when I'd bought the ring. She'd been so excited to see me, so full of stories about her professors and new friends. We'd spent a perfect week together, and I'd started carrying the velvet box everywhere, waiting for the right moment. The moment never came. Every time I worked up the courage, something interrupted: her phone ringing, rain starting, other people around. Finally, on my last day, I'd decided to wait. Do it right. Plan something special. Next time, I'd promised myself. Next time will be perfect. She'd suggested the cottage weekend herself, calling me from Manila with excitement in her voice. I found the most beautiful place on Panglao, perfect for a romantic getaway. Just the two of us, no distractions. No distractions. I'd taken that as a sign. Now, standing at the port with sweat sticking my new shirt to my back, I checked my phone again. 11:47 a.m. Still no messages. The last text I'd gotten from her was yesterday. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, my love. Wear something nice. I'd worn something nice. I'd packed everything carefully, including the ring and the speech I'd finally written down. The cottage reservation was confirmed, paid in full for 3 nights. I'd even bought champagne at the resort shop, something she'd mentioned liking during one of our dinners. A fisherman loading nets onto his boat noticed me checking my phone for the dozenth time. Waiting for someone, sir? My girlfriend. She was supposed to meet me here at 10. He glanced at his watch, a plastic Casio that had seen better days. Island time, sir. Maybe she's running late. Island time. That's what Annika always said when she was 10 or 15 minutes behind schedule. But this wasn't 10 or 15 minutes anymore. This was almost 2 hours. I tried calling again. Straight to voicemail. The recording of her voice, cheerful and professional. Hi, you've reached Annika. I'm probably with clients or somewhere with no signal. Leave a message and I'll call you back soon. Hey, it's me again, I said after the beep. I'm still at the port. Starting to worry something happened. Call me when you get this, okay? Love you. Love you. The words felt different saying them into a phone with no one listening. Smaller somehow, like they were floating away into the humid air and disappearing. A tour boat was pulling in, the same company Annika used to work for before she went to Manila. I recognized the logo, a cartoon dolphin jumping over stylized waves. Passengers were disembarking, mostly couples and families loaded down with snorkel gear and sun hats. I watched them reunite with people waiting on the dock, hugs and kisses and excited chatter about fish they'd seen. That should have been us. She should have been on that boat, or the one before it, or the one before that. Scanning the dock for my face, waving when she spotted me, running over in that red sundress to tell me about her morning. The red sundress I'd bought for her in Manila during my last visit. She'd tried it on in the little boutique near her apartment, spinning in front of the mirror like a teenager. It's too expensive, Lels. Nothing's too expensive if it makes you happy. You spoil me. You deserve to be spoiled. She'd worn it to dinner that night, and I'd felt proud walking beside her. Proud that this beautiful, smart, ambitious young woman had chosen me, chosen us. Another boat was approaching the dock. This one coming from the direction of Panglao, from the resort areas where tourists stayed. I watched it navigate toward the pier, hoping maybe she'd taken a different route, gotten confused about which dock we'd agreed on. But as it got closer, as passengers became clearer, I saw her. Red sundress. Dark hair loose around her shoulders the way I liked it. Standing at the front of the boat with the wind catching her dress, looking like something from a postcard. She wasn't looking for me. She was looking at the man beside her. He was younger, maybe 30, maybe less. Filipino, tall for a local, wearing board shorts and a tank top that showed off the kind of build you get from years of diving and beach work, not from sitting behind a postal counter. His hand was on the small of her back, casual and familiar, and she was leaning into him like she belonged there. Like she'd always belonged there. I didn't move. Couldn't move. Just stood there as the boat pulled up to the dock, as passengers started filing off, as the couple in red and blue walked past me like I was invisible. She didn't see me, never looked in my direction, never checked her phone, just walked hand in hand with him toward the main road, laughing at something he'd whispered in her ear. I followed them at a distance, telling myself I was wrong, that it wasn't her, that my eyes were playing tricks in the noon Sunday. But I knew that laugh, knew the way she tucked her hair behind her left ear when she was happy, knew the red sundress because I'd watched her put it on. They stopped at a sari-sari store to buy drinks. He paid. She thanked him with a kiss on the cheek that lingered too long for friendship. When they walked away, sharing a bottle of Coke like teenagers, I finally understood. Island time. She hadn't been running late. She'd been exactly where she wanted to be. The velvet box felt like it weighed 100 pounds in my pocket. I pulled it out, stared at it for a moment, then put it back. What was I supposed to do with it now? Return it to the jewelry store in Tucson and explain that my Filipino girlfriend was actually someone else's Filipino girlfriend? My phone buzzed. For half a second, hope flared in my chest. But it wasn't her. It was the cottage, confirming my check-in time. Mr. Williamson, your romantic getaway package is ready. Champagne service at 4 p.m., dinner reservations at sunset. We're excited to make this a memorable weekend for you and your fiancé. I'd gotten carried away when I made the reservation, started thinking of her that way before I'd even asked the question. Before I'd learned the question didn't matter. I should have canceled. Should have gotten on the next ferry back to Cebu and caught the first flight home. But I couldn't move. Couldn't think beyond the image of her in that red dress, smiling at someone else the way she used to smile at me. So I went to the cottage. Mr. Williamson, the caretaker, a cheerful woman named Manning Bell, greeted me at the gate. Welcome. Is your lady friend coming separately? She had to cancel. I managed. Oh no, emergency? Something like that. Manning Bell's face fell with genuine concern. So sorry to hear. But don't worry, we'll still take good care of you. Maybe she can join you tomorrow? Maybe. The cottage was everything Anika had promised. Private beach access, a hammock strung between two palm trees, a bedroom with sheer curtains that would have been romantic if I hadn't been alone. The champagne was already chilling in an ice bucket on the patio table, 2 glasses waiting beside it. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally opened the ring box. The diamond caught the afternoon light, throwing tiny rainbows across the white walls. 3 months of pension payments reduced to a sparkle that would never touch her finger. My phone buzzed again. This time it was her. Lels. So sorry. My phone died, and I couldn't find a charger anywhere. Are you at the cottage yet? Can't wait to see you. I stared at the message for 10 minutes before responding. Just got here. Perfect. I'm dealing with a family thing right now, but I should be free by tonight. Miss you. Family thing. I almost laughed. I guess that's what she was calling him now. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked out to the beach and tried to make sense of what I'd seen. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe he was a cousin, a family friend, someone helping her with something. Maybe there was an explanation that didn't involve everything I'd felt for the past 6 months being a lie. But deep down, in the part of me that had survived 34 years of government work and a marriage that ended with signed papers and divided assets, I knew better. I'd seen enough in my life to recognize truth when it slapped me in the face. The sun was setting when my phone rang. Anika finally calling instead of texting. Lels, how's the cottage? I saw the pictures online, it looks amazing. She sounded normal. Happy. Like she hadn't spent the day with another man while I waited for her at a dock. It's nice, I said. Quiet. I'm so sorry about today. Family drama, you know how it is. But I'll definitely see you tomorrow, okay? We can have that romantic dinner you mentioned. Where are you now? A pause. Just a beat too long. At my mama's house. Dealing with some neighbor issues. Very boring stuff. I could hear music in the background. Not the kind you'd hear at a neighbor dispute. The kind you'd hear at a beachside restaurant where young couples went for dinner. Sounds like a party. Oh, that's just the TV. Mama's watching her shows, you know how loud she keeps it. Another pause. Are you okay, Lels? You sound different. Different. I guess learning your girlfriend is cheating on you does change your voice a little. Just tired from traveling. Well, get some rest. Tomorrow will be perfect, I promise. Just you and me, and that beautiful beach. Maybe we can finally have some of those deep conversations we've been missing while I was in Manila. Deep conversations. About what? About how she'd spent my tuition money while dating someone else? About how every I love you had been carefully calculated to keep the checks coming? Sure, I said, looking forward to it. I love you, Lels. Sweet dreams. The line went dead before I could decide whether to say it back. I spent the night on the patio, drinking the champagne that was meant for both of us while waves crashed in the darkness. The ring box sat on the table, lid open, diamond catching moonlight like it was mocking me. Every few hours my phone would buzz with messages from her, photos of food, complaints about family drama, hearts and kisses and promises about tomorrow. I didn't respond to any of them. Morning came gray and humid, threatening rain. I dozed off in the chair sometime before dawn, and my neck ached when I woke up. The champagne bottle was empty. The ring was still there, still sparkling, still worthless. Manang Bell appeared with coffee and bread, her smile less bright than yesterday. Still no word from your lady? She'll be here later. Ah, good. I was starting to worry something bad happened. Something bad did happen, just not what she was thinking. I spent the morning walking the beach, trying to sort through 6 months of memories that suddenly felt different. Every sweet message, every declaration of love, every time she'd cried talking about her dreams, how much of it was real? How much was performed for an audience of one lonely American with a pension and a savior complex? The worst part wasn't the money. I'd been broke before, would probably be broke again. The worst part was how believable it had all been, how naturally she'd played the part of someone who could love me. My phone rang around noon. A number I didn't recognize but a Bohol area code. Hello? Sir Leland? This is Marco from Island Paradise Tours. You remember me? I did remember him. A young guide who'd taken me and Annika to Anda Beach on my second visit. Friendly kid, maybe 24, with good English and a quick smile. Hi Marco, what's up? Sir, I don't know if I should be calling you, but I saw something yesterday and I think you should know. My stomach dropped. What did you see? I was at the port in Panglao, picking up some clients. I saw Annika there with a guy. They looked very close. Like boyfriend-girlfriend close. Did you talk to her? No, sir. She didn't see me. But sir. He paused, like he was choosing his words carefully. This is not the first time I see them together. Last month, when she was supposed to be in Manila for school, I saw them at a resort in Alona. They were staying in the same room. While I was sending money for her Manila apartment. Sir? You still there? Yeah. Thanks for telling me. I'm sorry, sir. I know you care about her, but I thought you should know the truth. The truth. Such a simple word for something that felt like a physical blow. After I hung up, I sat on the beach for a long time, watching boats come and go from the distant port. Tourists, arriving for their perfect vacations, couples holding hands as they walked the waterline, families building sandcastles that would be gone by evening. Everything temporary, everything ending. Around 4 o'clock, she started calling. I let it go to voicemail the first 3 times, but she kept trying, so finally I answered. Lels, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all day. I've been busy. Listen, I have to tell you something, and you're going to be upset, but please hear me out. Her voice was different now. Rushed, nervous. There's been a change of plans. Let me guess, more family drama. Actually, yes. My cousin, the one whose birthday we went to, he's in the hospital. Car accident. My whole family is here, and I can't leave them right now. I'm so sorry, but I don't think I can make it to the cottage. I almost admired the creativity. A car accident was harder to disprove than a dead phone or neighbor problems. Which hospital? What? Which hospital is he in? I'll come meet you there. Another pause. Longer this time. Oh, Lels, you don't need to do that. It's very far, and it's just family stuff. Very boring for you. I thought I was family too. Silence. You are, she said finally, but her voice sounded smaller. Of course you are. It's complicated right now. I'm sure it is. More silence. When she spoke again, she sounded like she was crying. Are you angry with me? Angry. Such an inadequate word for what I was feeling. Angry was what you felt when someone cut you off in traffic or your mail was delivered late. This was something deeper, more final. This was the sound of everything you'd believed about yourself and your life cracking apart. No, I said. I'm not angry. Good. Because I love you, Lels. More than anyone I've ever been with. This is just bad timing, but we'll figure it out, okay? Maybe next weekend? Or, there won't be a next weekend. The words came out before I'd planned them, but they felt right. Final. What do you mean? I mean, I know about him. The guy you were with yesterday. The guy you've been with while I've been sending money for school. The crying stopped. Just like that, like someone had flipped a switch. Lels, I don't know what you think you saw. I don't think. I know. I saw you at the port, red sundress, happy as hell, just not with me. For the first time in 6 months, she had nothing to say. So here's what's going to happen, I continued. I'm going to delete your number. You're going to delete mine. And we're both going to pretend this never happened. Leland, please. Don't. Just don't. I hung up before she could say anything else. Before she could explain or apologize or try to convince me that what I'd seen wasn't what it looked like. Before she could make me want to believe her again. She tried calling back. I declined the call. She tried texting. I blocked the number. Then I took the ring box out to the water. I didn't throw it dramatically or make a speech, or even feel particularly angry about it. I just walked out until I was waist deep, opened the box, and let the ring slip into the waves. 3 months of pension money, gone in a second, but it felt lighter than keeping it. Manang Bell found me sitting on the patio that evening, still staring at the water. Your lady is not coming? No, she's not coming. Ah. She sat down beside me, uninvited but welcome. You know, sir, in 30 years of taking care of this place, I see many couples come and go. Some very happy, some very sad. The sad ones always teach me more. What do they teach you? That love is not about the other person. It's about who you choose to be when you love someone. You chose to be generous, to be hopeful, to be kind. That doesn't change just because she chose differently. Feels like it changes everything. No, sir. It changes nothing about who you are. Only about who she is. I checked out early the next morning, catching the first ferry back to Cebu City and then the earliest flight to Manila. 13 hours later, I was back in Tucson, standing in my empty house with a suitcase full of unworn clothes and a phone full of blocked numbers. But I didn't unblock them. Didn't write long emails demanding explanations or send final messages about betrayal and broken promises. What would have been the point? She knew what she'd done. I knew what I'd learned. Sometimes the conversation ends not with dramatic confrontations but with quiet understanding. It's been 3 months now. I've started volunteering at the senior center, teaching computer classes to people who are learning to video chat with grandchildren. I've joined a hiking group that meets every Saturday. I've even gone on a few dates with women my own age, nothing serious, but conversations over coffee that don't require wire transfers or visa applications. I don't hate Anika. I don't even blame her, not really. She was 26 years old with bills to pay and dreams to chase, and I was a convenient solution to both. Maybe she did care about me, in whatever way she was capable of caring. Maybe some of those tears were real, but it doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I'm not waiting at ports anymore. Not checking my phone every 5 minutes for messages from someone who's already moved on. Not planning proposals to people who are planning exits. I learned something in those 2 hours at that dock, watching boat after boat arrive without her on them. I learned that love isn't about how much you're willing to give up. It's about finding someone who doesn't want you to give up anything at all. She said she was waiting for me at that port. Said she'd wave when she saw me. But she was already on a boat with someone else. Already sailing away. Already gone. The next time I fall in love, if there is a next time, I won't be the one doing all the waiting. I won't be the one who has to wave first.